on this. Here we go. Ooh, what is that? We good? I believe we are live. I always check it on my phone. Yeah, is it?
Live.
Yes.
Wow, beautiful. There's always a 10-second lag. Sweet, we're live. Cool. Good morning. Happy New Year, everybody. To everybody tuning into this. This is our 34th jam session. We started these back in May, as most people know. I think hopefully I put something like that on the copy. And it's just a creative way to connect with people. Thank God for Zoom. Thank God for technology. It's just I feel like we've connected, obviously not in person, but just, dialogue wise more than we have even when all the in-person stuff was going on. So obviously everybody wants to let loose, have a drink, have some food together, but this is our jam. This is what we've got. So with that, I'm just going to jump in. I'm not going to do too many introductory comments. I mean, the goal of our platform is to connect, elevate, and inspire realtors and partners in the city of Chicago. And I'm just thankful that I'm in the position that I am to do what I do. And so without further ado, I'm going to have the realtors introduce themselves. We got some new faces on this one just to kick off the new year. And then I'll have the partners introduce themselves. So let's go. Let's have Patrick go first, then Lumi, then Annie, then Paul, then Mark. And then I'll have the partners introduce themselves. So take it away.
All right. Thanks, Andy. Thank you for putting this together today. Really appreciate it. Happy New Year, everyone. I'm Patrick Natale with the Grid Group over at Compass. I'm entering my 15th year in the real estate industry here now in Chicago, and look forward to having a great 2021.
Hi, this is Lumi Ispas with Center GR. This is my 19th year full-time in real estate, and I think it's a great investment year. So I'm looking to invest more this year and help my investor clients.
Hi, I'm Annie Schweitzer with the originally named Annie Schweitzer Group. I'm with Compass. I've been in the industry, I think this is my 13th year, 12 or 13, something like that. And that's my short.
There you go. And I'm Paul Mancini with At Properties. And I believe this is my 6th year in the real estate game. So I'm excited to be here and ready for a crazy 2021. So Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
Hi, Mark Zipperer, Remax Next. 18 years. My God, where did it all go? Perky about this year for sure. I think, it was good to close out last year for sure. This year, I think will be a wild ride as well. Hopefully not as crazy.
Yeah, agreed. I think the learning curve, hopefully we have a little bit more what to expect, but people's systems are down with what we can project down the road. So thanks, agents. And like I say, I try to talk as little as possible on these, but I do want to say some things about the partners. So I know realtors love the physical publication. They look forward to getting into their pods every single month, but I'll tell you right now, I cannot do what I do. I am essentially homeless without our partners. I mean, realtors, like I get a lot of love in the sense of like Facebook. Oh my gosh, my future looks great. Thank you so much, Andy. I will say that Joel, Jonathan, Mike, I can't do what I do without you guys. And that's not just from a financial standpoint with the support of the publication and the events and everything, but I mean, just from an idea standpoint. I mean, I pick your guys' brains. Joel, I've been to some of your stuff, just to how you collaborate people like outside of the Real Producers platform. So these are partners who are in it for the long haul. We call them partners intentionally and not vendors. I use that word extremely intentionally because in my opinion, vendors are a dime a dozen. Partners, you're going to lock arms with for life. And so I want to allow the partners to introduce themselves, and then I'm going to shut up and we'll start jamming. So why don't we go Joel, Jonathan, Mike, and then I'll get out of the way. Joel, go ahead, my friend. Take it away.
Oh, sorry. Pardon me. I was a little busy. Joel Schaub, Vice President of Mortgage Lending for Guaranteed Rate, 17 years in the business, 16 at Guaranteed Rate, just finished up 2020 with $195 million in closings, and we're all about teaching and education and helping instead of scaring. So it's all about taking the next steps to build the partnership, and we're really happy that we're on today. Thank you.
Jonathan Aven. Andy, thank you for putting this together again. And I am a real estate lawyer. I've been practicing for going into my 26th year now. I work by myself. I do nothing now but handle real estate closings. And in a perfect world, I do nothing but handle simple real estate closings. 2020 didn't really cooperate with me in that regard. So maybe 2021 will see a few more easier deals.
Hey guys, I'm Mike Valente. I'm the owner of Renovation Sells. All we do is we do quick cosmetic updates before houses get listed for sale. We partner with real estate agents across the city. We did about 70 of these last year. We had a great year, all things considering, even though we had a hold between late March and April. And we're really looking forward to, to 2021. I think when we first started in this business, it was kind of a novelty that we were prepping houses for sale. But I think now it's becoming more of the, if you're not doing something to get your listing ready, you're doing your client and yourself a disservice. So we're here to help realtors prep houses, get pretty pictures online, and help you guys move listings.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm Michael. I think, Joe, I think you're the longest tenured partner, but I mean, Michael, it took us forever. I don't know why we hadn't met earlier, but I know there was like 3 or 4 realtors who were like, Michael, Renovation Sells? I was like, who is this guy? And so obviously we met, and the rest is sort of history. So that is it. I'm going to shut up. Let's start jamming. What do you guys, what would be the most productive for everybody? What do you guys want to open it up and talk about? Kicking it off the first week of the year.
I mean, I'll get it out of the way. We all want to know how the market's going. So how is everybody doing? Everyone busy? Everyone prepping? What's your status like?
Really busy.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a great start to the year. Joel, as you probably see, a lot of these buyers want to continue to take advantage of these low interest rates. The difference in a quarter of a point or a half a point, it could be $500-800 a month. So buyers can afford so much more right now than they could just a few years ago. So I'm telling all my buyers that's a big difference in your payment, and you can go buy your dream home now. And I've got a lot of buyers that are wanting to do that. And I think the luxury condos downtown is also going to have a big comeback this year. So I'm ready to see what's going to happen in River North and Gold Coast. I think it's going to be a good year in the market again. That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, Joel, have you been seeing a lot more pre-approvals this week? I know I've been showing a lot of off market. People came out of the woodworks after, I would say, a pretty stale 2 months. But we've all been in this business more than 4 years. We saw this happen 4 years ago, and I understand that, 2020 was different than any other year, but I think it's pretty consistent to say, I remember January 1st, 4 years ago, my phone was ringing off the hook. And I always joke, I'm going to have a real estate journal because this stuff, history repeats itself. And I've been telling my sellers, take it off the market if that's what you feel comfortable with doing. No one's doing much. But my phone's been ringing off the hook, and I have been selling off market. So do you feel like you've been seeing a lot more pre-approvals in the last week, since, let's be honest, nobody has anything else better to do?
Don't you feel every year, right in the beginning in January, you wonder, oh my gosh, am I going to sell a home ever again, right?
Oh, 100%.
You had a great year, and then you're like, oh no, is it going to happen? I knew this year was going to move the needle forward when people were calling on New Year's Day, like 1/1, wanting to get those updated letters because their agent was showing them places that weekend, and that never happens. And so I think, Paul, you were talking about the market kind of moving forward. What were the old metrics, and what are you seeing right now?
Yeah, I've got a few, clients, especially maybe the older ones that have seen historical data, and they're used to waiting to list their home until Super Bowl Sunday, which is, the maybe 3rd week of February, which isn't necessarily true anymore. ever since I've been in the business, about 6 years ago, I see the market picking up first week of January. So to wait until February, I don't think does anybody, a good service. So, there's buyers out there. We're getting multiple offers on some of our listings right now. So if you wanted to wait until February, you're just going to be competing with other sellers at that point. So if you're wanting to go on the market, sell your place, I think, this week is a good time to do it. Or if you're considering that price drop because you're, are still a little bit too high, I would say don't wait. Just get it done right now. And chances are you'll get a contract before the end of the month if you're a seller.
I think there are a couple things going on right now compared to other years. First off, our winter is so good, right? I mean, we hardly have any snow. Last week it was warm. I think that buyers, their propensity to go out and look at homes when we have 30 inches of snow is so much lower than right now. I know I don't want to go out in 30 inches of snow, but I'll take this. And this weekend I was, all over the place, which was cool. And there was one day where I didn't even have to wear a winter coat. I had a fall coat on. So, I think that has caused people to, say, hey, let's get out there a little bit earlier. The other impact this year, I think, is COVID, but in a positive way. People are sitting at home, right? So it's not like they're sitting in traffic going bumper to bumper downtown and sitting in an office and, oh, I'm tired. They're like, hey, let's go out and look at places. I'm working from home. Pick me up. Let's go 12 to 2. So even though I think a lot of people have been impacted in a negative way by COVID, real estate has actually seen a positive. I mean, low rates for sure, but people's flexibility to be available during the day versus, say, the weekend.
With regard to COVID and a lot of people making decisions with regard to the city, wanting to get out of the city, get out of the state, whatever, are you guys seeing that with your buyers now? Because I saw quite a bit of it more, in the last 9-10 months than I had seen in previous years, or at least I was paying attention to it more. Have you had people come to you specifically saying, I don't want to be in the downtown area anymore, or I want to get out of this high tax state? Or you seeing more of those kinds of rationales for people wanting to sell and get out of the city?
Yeah, I mean, it's a mixed bag. I think there's a number of those. But I also look at a lot of that as short-sighted, and, it's human nature. And just like, we have short-term memory loss. So it's the same reason why we forget pain. It'll be fine. And, it's like, we also had riots, and now it's like, okay, well, we're ready to go back out again. And, people they don't necessarily forget, but it seems less of a in your face kind of pain. So I'm seeing people going back out in those areas again. So it's not all doom and gloom like it was. And, we all sat in front of our TVs and the internet just reading bad news. So I think, people are a little bit more optimistic these days.
Jonathan, I think that was a trend last year for sure. I think it sped up some younger couples' decision that had kids to exit the city and go out to suburbs. I still think that we're going to see momentum in the city, especially in the neighborhoods like Bucktown, Wicker Park, Lincoln Park, North Center, strong city neighborhoods. I think will bounce back in 2021. And I think you are starting to see a lot of people wanting more space. And I think high rises, the pricing for high rises will be impacted by that. But we are also starting to see at least some of the last few transactions we've done in our high rise deals, we've seen some people coming from the suburbs making decisions. Hey, this is a good time to buy because interest rates are so low. And they're moving out of their suburban homes and getting into a building that they couldn't possibly, may not have been able to afford in 2017, 18, or, beginning of 19. So
I have a question about the high rise stuff. How much have you guys, the realtors, seen the high rise, condo numbers affected? Have they decreased significantly? Or are people kind of just waiting it out? What's the trend line on the condos downtown market looking like?
Depends on on each building. I would say West Loop. It also depends on if it's 1, 2, 3 bedrooms and if they allow rentals. Because if the buildings allow rentals, a lot of investors are grabbing units. I'm seeing a lot of people that are thinking to retire in the city in the next few years, or have kids coming to college in the city in the next few years, buying right now. There isn't a huge opportunity in downtown that I haven't seen in since 2011 market. So if the assessments are low, if there are no special assessments, the prices are stable. They have not gone up as much as the rest of Chicago and the suburbs have gone up. But in some buildings, I've seen prices low as 20%. So if let's say there is a cap rate, or they don't allow rentals, prices are going to drop because now you have only owner occupants that can buy. So if you limit the number of buyers that can buy in the building, then of course the price will be impacted.
Or to me, the bigger the building in terms of high rises, the more drama there is. And this is really related to COVID. Okay. So for instance, I'm up in Lakeview. If you are a seller at Park Place right now, I have not a huge interest in that. Why? Last time I looked at it, there's 28 one-bedrooms. And if you're living on a low floor and there's only 4 people allowed in an elevator, you're screwed to get out of that building. Worse yet, if you have a dog and you can only use one of those 2 freight elevators, my dog can't wait a half hour to get out of the building. Personally, I want nothing to do with that place right now. Sorry, I'm being very gossipy about it, but smaller high rises, like I live in a smaller high rise with a low renter percentage, so there's not a lot of in and out, and I spin it in a much different way. And thank God I live at the top of the building, so I get the elevator and I pass 3-4 people on the way down. The other thing, as far as people coming and going from Chicago, yeah, I get that. And, people are always going to find something to bitch about, whatever. But I see a good amount of people moving to Chicago, especially, here's what I get, retirees. Why? Retirees that don't want to sit in some recliner in a trailer in Florida. They want to live in a big, vibrant city, but they look at New York, LA, New York, New Jersey, and are like, damn, it's expensive. So people can chirp and watch Illinois policy or whatever that Facebook page is about how high our taxes are. I don't know if they're high or not. I look at some, okay, so on a $500,000 property in New York, first off, you're not going to touch one in New York. So I don't care what our taxes are. At least you can live in this city for an affordable price. People from New York come here and I show them something at $750,000 and they're like, what's wrong with it? They're like, this is a bargain. So that hoo-ha about our taxes, I of course, we're therapists. I'm like, okay, so you can't afford property in New York, but you bitch about our taxes. But we are a huge city with a lot of services. So get over the taxes. I'm from Wisconsin. Our taxes are double what they are in Illinois. So what are people bitching about with these taxes in this city? Yeah, we've got our drama for sure. Sorry, if Lori doesn't get the downtown under control, we are going to have more problems. I was a supporter, but we don't need any more looting. My downtown listings were at a standstill for a while downtown. So yeah, we definitely have a checklist of things to work on, but a lot of people see a huge amount of benefits to Chicago.
Yeah, Mark, I agree with you about the taxes. Some people think that they're high, but they're thinking to themselves, over the past year, why am I paying these taxes if I don't get to enjoy the beach and the restaurants and the shopping on Michigan Avenue? Well, that's all going to be back in the next, hopefully, 6 to 8 months. And then they're going to realize why they're paying these taxes. It's so you can live in one of the best cities in the United States. And they're going to be able to take advantage of going to some of the best restaurants in the United States and some of the best shopping in the United States. And again, to your point, buy a condo for $500,000. That's actually, 2,000 square feet versus 800 square feet in New York.
Yeah. And then you in New York, you can't have a car unless you're, wealthy. In LA, you have to have a car and drive everywhere. And it's a lot less social. Live in a high rise when you're retired. And I have a good amount of retirees, so I'm kind of focusing on them. You can live here, have great hospitals, hop on the bus, go to Symphony. This was a chat I had yesterday, so it's fresh in my mind. And when you're old and rickety, you can just take the bus down to Northwestern or the Symphony. And so, you know, rather than being in LA, driving around in your old Cadillac, getting in accidents or whatever. Sorry, I'm having fun with this, but I'm a huge proponent of Chicago, or a huge advocate of Chicago. And sometimes I think we need a PR firm, don't we?
Yes.
I nominate
That's
you
right.
for sure.
Yeah.
I want the job. So anyway, so I, you know, the one thing, like, you know, we're talking about positives and all that, and the one thing that, you know, I think the year will be good for sure, but you know, the whole COVID thing in the United Kingdom, kind of, I'm watching that kind of scares me a little bit. You know, the fact that they're completely on lockdown, and this new strain variant, whatever the hell it is, if it really gains momentum here, you know, it kind of makes me wonder if it will cause us to slow a little bit. So I'm working my tail off right now, just in case.
So that's great that you mentioned so much the pluses of downtown. I mean, the city, it's the 5th or 6th, depending on who you listen to, wealthiest city in the world based on the companies that have their headquarters there. I had this conversation with an investor yesterday that asked me the questions you mentioned about this, the city health and about the taxes. And I asked him how much he's paying for his house tax, his property tax in the suburbs. When I told him how much are the tax on a 4 flat in Chicago, he was like, he could not believe it, because all he's hearing, people complain about taxes because they hear it from other friends or they hear it in the media. They are not aware of the real numbers. The second thing is, they asked me if the city is going to go down. I said, how can you go down? Walgreens has a 24 year lease. Google has such a long lease in Chicago. All these big companies have headquarters that are now moving. It's COVID, and still, how many have moved out of city? And they're all going to ask their people back to work. Then you have the universities, because we're complaining about the vacancies in downtown, right? Well, the students are going to be back to school in summer. I'm hearing, I have a kid in college, so I'm hearing that 25% of college kids have skipped the year this year. Think about it, a quarter of the college kids in the United States have taken a year off because they didn't want to pay for or their parents didn't want to pay their fees without being in school. Well, all these colleges cannot afford that. All these kids are going to be back to school in August. And what's going to happen, thousands and thousands of rental units in downtown that used to be rental for the college kids, they're going to be back, you know, filled out. So we have to just keep faith in the city, because I truly believe that the city is going to do great.
I think at some point the corporations have to slowly come back, which I think they're already starting to really release emails and memos that I'm hearing, you know, April, May, June for some of these bigger corporations. I'm already starting to see traction in the rental market. We had a few rentals we could not rent the last 3 or 4 months. We've gotten lease applications on pretty much all of them in the last week or so. And I think as we get into January and February, the traction with the rental market, people realize they are going to have to come back into the city, because, I mean, you're not going to want to commute, you know, 45 minutes, an hour and 15 minutes from some of these places. And I think what I've seen, especially with the younger generation, including my own siblings, is they've moved back to my mom and dad's house, or we have a second house, or my parents have a second home up in Twin Lakes, Wisconsin. And I have one of my brothers living up there because his corporation has told him he's not going to be back until June of next year. So he's decided to remove himself from a rental situation in the city of Chicago because of, you know, not being able to enjoy the restaurants, the shops, everything that these, you know, everyone wants, not just younger buyers or younger, you know, renters. Everyone wants, you know, the city to be back. And I think it's going to take some time, but I think there is a light at the end of the tunnel, especially with these vaccines coming down the pipeline. I think, you know, June, July, August are I still think the market's going to stay active these first few months, just because that's, you know, the nature of Chicago, but I do see Chicago coming back. So
Patrick, I have a follow-up to your brother who went to Twin Lake, Wisconsin. Is he planning on coming back, and is he excited to come back?
Yeah, absolutely. He's planning on coming back.
Yeah.
He's planning on coming back, but until he gets a definitive email from you know, his boss and the people making the decisions, there's no reason for him to be close to the offices because they're not going in at all.
Right.
So it doesn't make him, you know, he was only paying, I think, $1,300 a month in the Pilsen neighborhood for a 1-bedroom, 1-bath. But to him to kind of eliminate that and save that money every month, I do think we're also going to have buyers that have been doing this for 6 or 7 months that are now going to have money for a down payment if they do decide to get into the market with interest rates being low. I see that as a positive for some of these younger buyers that didn't have down payments, you know, in 2020.
Joel, let's just real quick, I'm going to ask Joel a question in terms of interest rates. I know you said they're going to keep them low. How low and for how long? Is there any increases? Obviously, you don't have a crystal ball, but is there any increases on the horizon? Are we targeting 2022? What's the interest chatter?
Mike, I have a crystal ball. I do.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
I love it.
All lenders do. Ask Paul. His brother's a mortgage lender. We have a crystal ball. We kind of have an idea of what's going on.
All right, good.
Here's the idea right now, just so that we can kind of get a refresher because we know rates are low. But here's the thing, right? As agents, what you want to do is empower your people and educate them because you don't write the rate on your check each month. What you do is you write a payment. And so the reason why buyers are out there doing things now is that they can actually feel it. There's an actual benefit in 2 ways. They're either paying less per month for the exact same house, or they're able to finally take that little bit step up. And you guys know this, they can buy something that they couldn't have bought 2 years ago and that they won't be able to buy in 2 years. So I would have lost a bar bet with all of you saying that 30-year fixed rates would be around 2.5%. And that's where they're at, and they're staying there. We're seeing rates at 2% and below on the fixed rate 10 and 15-year term. And that's where a lot of the older retired folks that are coming in that don't want a 30-year commitment, they have the money, they're borrowing. Even if they could pay cash, they're borrowing money from guys like me and other banks at 2% and below right now, fixed. And so those are some of the things that you can go out and do this. Teach and educate your buyers about what rates mean because the media is doing it for us. We're getting a lot of phone calls because rates are low, but what you got to do is explain to them what the payment means. And if you're not up to it or like up to date, figuring out just a quick mortgage amortization on what a $300,000, $400,000 payment is, that's how you can empower and help your people. Yeah, Mike, it's really interesting. I got more on it. But...
Like, what's the highest rate any of you guys have ever paid for a mortgage? My highest rate was 10.5.
Double digits.
And I still bought.
Mine was 11.
Yeah. And I remember telling my broker at the time, wow, that's a great rate. I mean, we're living in a magical time. Thank God for low rates. I mean, that's what's really keeping us going. It's so funny, Joel, you said that because, you know, since I'm old, I'm paying down our mortgage faster, right? You know, because someday I'm not going to be able to get out of my car and show houses. And our investment person said, what in the hell are you doing? He said, we don't pay it down. Make the minimum payment. Let me invest the rest. I'm like, interesting. He's got a point.
You're seeing that, right? It's an actual switch mark. So for years, the financial advisors were absolutely correct. And Jonathan, you can attest to this too. You'd pay extra on your mortgage because even at 6-7%, you'd like to pay that debt off. It's completely changed in the last 2 years. And more importantly, even over the last 6 months, as these rates have slid below 3%, you're not actively trying to prepay on that. You'd like to borrow. Even my clients right now that have 20 and 25% to put down, they can get no mortgage insurance options with 10% down, and the rates are in the 2s. So the financial advisor says, buy the $500,000 place with 50 grand and not put $100,000 and $125,000 down.
Yeah, there's a
magical time.
It's really interesting because for years I used to go through the amortization schedule and always point out the fact that you're paying a lot more interest in the first third to a half of the mortgage. And I have a hard time explaining that now because when you look at the principal and the interest at a 2.5% interest rate, it's almost no different.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a harder sell to explain that. Joel, I did have a question I wanted to follow up with you on, which was, I had mentioned earlier that I've had a string of bad experiences with the larger national banks, which we've had for years. And I've always tried to talk to agents about getting them to really sort of push a local banker, a guaranteed rate for sure, or somebody in that vein where you're not dealing with a processor in Arizona and somebody who's never done a closing in Chicago. Any tips for our agents here and anyone else who's paying attention? How can you get them to say guaranteed rate is the lowest rates, the best service? What is your pitch to them so that they can say, look, I don't care that, you called up quick and online and they're going to give you this great rate. The service is going to be terrible. What's your pitch for doing that so that everyone listening can get you more business?
Well, it's about finding that partner for each of you, and that's what you want to do. It's not just guaranteed rate. There's a lot of really solid independent mortgage people that want your business that'll actually be a partner to you. Okay, and that's the goal here, is finding somebody that you can call on Friday nights and find somebody that you can call on Saturday mornings that'll actually be there, that is hungry for the business, that wants and has the ability to control both ends of the transaction. So what I mean by that is, it's not just having great rates, it's actually having the process and the staff to be able to close deals in weeks instead of months. And you just need to vet that out. So it's not just me. There are so many good independent people at other mortgage companies. You need to find your partners. Okay. Find the people that actually want to answer your phone calls, because good mortgage professionals should be not only there to give low rates, but like contribute money and help your marketing and help you grow, all RESPA compliant, and just be there as a teacher and an educator. Right now, so many mortgage guys are saying this. Listen, have you heard this? You better hurry up and buy because rates are going up. And then they say, going up after the election. Didn't happen. Going up after the new year, you better hurry up. Didn't happen. So it's about finding somebody that's just going to be honest and help. And the partnership is key. Paul, I work with your brother. These are these types of things where there's real people that care and have the ability to control both ends of it. And that's what it boils down to. There's good people at the big banks, if you get them. There's terrible people at my company, right? There's good and bad. Sorry, guaranteed rate, but there's good people everywhere and there's bad people as well. So it's about partnering with the right people. How do you get the buyers that don't know that you need an attorney? What are the things that you're helping them actually save so much time and money with when they're buying for the first time?
Well, as far as, I try to explain what my role is. And sometimes with first-time buyers, or worse, buyers that have bought only in other states where they don't use attorneys, it's sometimes a harder process to explain what the role is. But as I go through the kind of the process and explain, I start on day one with the contract and everything that I do in between all the way through the closing, and I go through all the documents at the closing and everything. I try to, make the point of, I'm doing things that other people don't. I'm looking at things differently than other people. Anyone can, no offense to some other people, but anyone can learn and explain the closing documents. Anyone can explain the basics of a contract, but being able to understand what's happening with real estate taxes and why 105 versus 110 versus 115% is, more important in a certain year or on a certain property based on what's going on, that can make my feedback and then some. I oftentimes will look at the tax prorations I get, and it more than covers whatever my fee was. And of course, I think my fees are too low at that point. But, I try to find some way to bring value. On some deals, I'm no more than a paper pusher, right? A super easy deal. Sign here, okay, I'm done. I didn't feel like I did anything. But the more value that you can bring, and I know this is the same for all of us, you try to bring whatever expertise that you can, whatever, your set of eyes is looking at to a particular deal is is what I strive for. And, hopefully I get there. Hopefully that by the end of the time at the closing, they're like, oh yeah, I'm glad I hired you. That's what you're looking for. So
You do it amazing. And that's the reason I wanted to ask you that quick question. Guys, if you don't use Jonathan, literally you saved my ass on so many deals this year. Literally, like, you are there for people and you're reliable and consistent. So,
well, I
thanks.
appreciate that. And
Yeah.
this isn't a love fest, but if it wasn't for you, there would be a few deals that wouldn't have closed as well.
Yeah.
So
I know.
I have a question for Joel, but also the other agents as well, because it's not all rainbows and butterflies with lending. I don't bullshit me. How are appraisals going? I know we have appraisal waivers, but you guys are backed up. Like, let's be honest, you guys have a lot of refis going. I know I refied twice this year, and a lot of people are. So I know you guys are backed up. So I had an experience recently where a appraisal took 3 weeks. And I'm telling you right now, there is no way to manage that. I have never experienced that. It wasn't you on the other side. However, there are a bunch of lenders out there. We can't always control when I'm on the sell side, what our buyers are using. So I can't explain away a 3-week appraisal. I mean, that's bullshit.
If you have the listing, the number one thing you do is get the lender on the phone. When you get the contract, you guys are all experts and you do this probably anyway. Even if it's somebody that ask them, are you guys doing a drive-by appraisal or a desktop appraisal? Because so often you guys are not getting these phone calls and you're wondering, what the hell is the mortgage guy doing? This guy's terrible. I haven't even got a phone call yet, but the appraisal's done. Because right now, a lot of those are drive-by and desktop. And that's not what you're talking about. A 3-week appraisal is like,
oh, no.
Nuts.
I mean, the appraisal was, I had an appraiser in the unit, and then it took 3 weeks.
Right. That's the issue with bigger banks. They get paid the same on a refinance or a purchase. And you really don't care how many refis your mortgage guy is doing. You actually don't want him focusing on that. You want your deals to move forward. And so on the refis, we've literally kind of separated those. So on the purchase side right now, you want the mortgage guys that know how to do desktop appraisals, drive-by appraisals, and the creme de la creme is a property inspection waiver. So the day I get the contract, you don't even need an appraisal. That's what we should have had on the 3-week one. Damn it. What the heck?
I mean, I'm fully aware of appraisal waivers right now, but not everyone has them. And I can't, like I said, I mean, I tried to get this guy on the phone a million times. I can't make him call me back, but
Is it a bank by chance?
I don't want to say. Yeah, was.
Hey,
was it a 1-800? Anyway, the first thing is having to call a 1-800 number, 866 number to reach a lender. That's why I like guaranteed rate as well. You can text these guys Friday night, Saturday morning, and they're going to get back to you. You don't necessarily want to use a big bank that's only open Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. It's tough to get those guys on the phone.
And I would say, to Annie's point that she started with about, when you're on the listing side, you can't control who the buyer uses. You can certainly make an effort, especially if it's a multiple offer situation where you say,
oh, it wasn't. I mean, we just needed to sell this. So, desperate times.
Yeah. You take what you can get, but I mean, I always, even as an attorney on either side, I'm always trying to convince the parties, to think long and hard about the choice they make on who their lender is going to be. And I don't know if you guys have seen this, but I have, in the last 3 or 4 months, I've had 5 or 6 bad appraisals that were, I mean, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 difference. And when we contested the appraisal back with the lender, the appraiser wouldn't change it. So, and I haven't seen this.
do.
Oh yeah, they don't ever want to be wrong.
That admits fault.
Yeah.
They don't get paid for being wrong.
Another reason not to go to the bank, because a lot of times if you work with those independent mortgage guys that you can partner with, they will be able to order a second appraisal, where at a bank, they're kind of stuck.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing, I guess, is like kind of be preemptive. I mean, I sell a lot of investments, so I sell a lot of buildings. I actually call the listing agent ahead. I'm making sure that they have the comparables for the rentals, for the sales, that they are present. One issue I've seen with appraisal is the listing agent is not present. So good luck having an appraiser figure out keys and lock boxes and tenants and, or not getting in a building because of, COVID and dormants and all these things. So I think, I've done where I'm the buyer agent, I still show up at the appraiser because the listing agent wouldn't be there. So as a buyer agent, make sure the listing agent is on top of things, that it's not a brand new agent that knows what to do, or send them the comps. I do that because I want the deal to go through. I don't want the appraiser to be stopped or to get that 50, 60,000 difference. So keep control of the deal. I will say, it doesn't matter if you're on the buyer side or the listing side. My first deal 19 years ago, I lost it. Yeah, I lost it because of listing agent not doing the job. So I've learned to keep control of the deal 100%.
Yeah.
Let me, before you go, Michael, you're next. I just want to get a screenshot before I forget, okay? But you are next. Michael Valente, Renovation Sells, has the floor. So everybody smile. Please do not be like my children and hold it for 1 second. Hold it like for a solid 5 seconds. Okay, 1, 2, 3, show some teeth. Okay, I think we might have actually nailed that in the first try. Paul, your mouth is open. Are you cool with that? This may or may not be in a future issue of Real Producers. I actually love the photo, so I think we're gonna go with it. You have no choice, Paul. You'll laugh. I can almost promise. So, Michael, go ahead, sir.
To the realtors, how much prep work do you guys do to your listings before you list them for sale? And then the follow-up to that is do you have like a certain combination, meaning do you focus on kitchens? Do you always suggest paint, floors? Like, what's your process with your seller clients to help maximize the value of their property and move their property as quick as possible?
I've almost always something. I've had people take up to a year to get on the market sometimes, depending on the house, but kitchen is huge. Today's buyer is all about move-in ready. Everyone thinks they watch HTV and they have an idea, but they're fucking clueless. So don't make them come up with ideas, like just make it go right in. So, sorry, that's the reality of the situation.
Andy, is that industry, and I'd like to hear from the other realtors, but is that standard? Because I told you at the beginning of this that, like, when we first started out this 3 years ago, we were kind of a novelty, and now we're becoming the norm. So do you think just the good realtors are the ones that are able to tell their clients, look, you got to do something? Or do you think, is it starting to become, more prevalent? Or just tell me about what you think in terms of.
No, I'd like to think I stand out. I'm the only one who does that. But no, I do think it's become more norm. I think people are starting to come around, but sellers always want to be right in a little way, but like, you just have to, there's some pushing. And I know at Compass, we have Compass Concierge, so we can actually 0% finance for a year. So that's been really attractive for a lot of people. So there's been more of that push forward, because frankly, a lot of people don't want to put a lot of money up front or the effort. The effort's big. So that's why I do end up GCing it however, Mike, I want to work with you on that, because I'm going crazy.
Yes. I tell people, look, number one, we're the preferred vendor for Compass Concierge. If your Compass people didn't know that, we are. The second thing is I always tell the realtors, stop playing general contractor. It's hard for us. It's hard enough for us. And that, I'm in this business 100%. So, if you have the ability to, have a educated conversation with your sellers, and then it doesn't matter if it's me or somebody else come in and do that work for you, it'll alleviate that pain of being the GC, because it's terrible sometimes chasing around the subcontractors, and the realtor should focus more on getting more listings, selling more houses, than getting caught up in the minutia of being a general contractor. It's tough.
Agreed. We'd love to delegate too.
And with Annie, we do even landscaping, curb appeal, because if you have a building or a house, you have to start from outside. And it's surprising. I had 2 clients last year that decided not to sell after the properties were the landscaping done. Like, wow, I didn't realize my house can look like this. Sorry, I'm not selling it. It happened.
Mike, I think the answer to your question though is I would personally want to do it on every single listing. But to push every single seller to do it is extremely challenging, especially with younger families. If they have kids, it's very hard to do. any sort of renovation work without moving them out of the house. But I mean, we will even go down to changing out old outlets and door hardware and anything we can to make the place look like it's not, wasn't built in 98 or 96 or early 90s, to get rid of the gold brass on the hardware and the gold brass lighting that you'll see in some of these things. I want to do everything I can, paint, kitchen, bathrooms. I want to sign them up for everything, but you kind of have to understand the seller and push them as much as possibly you can. And then, it's kind of like a negotiation, with their budget and trying to figure out what, if they've got $10K or $15,000, what is going to maximize their ROI? What makes sense? Do we just do paint? Do we do hardware? Do we do lighting? Or, do we do the kitchen? Is that the number one thing that the buyer in that market is looking for? So I think it just depends on the seller, the product. We did it. We used Compass Concierge 2 times last year, early in the market in January, and both condos in the South Loop, and we used staging as well, and both of them sold within 2 weeks of being on the market. So it makes a huge difference.
Good. Yeah, no, look, again, there's lots of GCs, we specialize in this, but as long as, we really want to push the message as to the agents, as long as you're having those conversations and kind of driving that message home that you have to do something to, at least try to maximize the sale value, because so many sellers are sitting on unrealized equity and they don't want to put any money into their home, but that's a way to kind of unlock that. And then the second portion of that is I'm sure they'd rather sell it faster than have it sit. You guys have to have conversations about price drops, why it's not moving. Those are tough conversations that you guys have to have. So I'm glad you all are doing that.
Annie, what would you tell your clients? It seems like you're pretty passionate about this and have a lot of experience with, GCing these projects yourself, but a seller who would rather just price accordingly, instead of doing these updates. I'm fine with just pricing it a little bit below, instead of doing those updates, and most of it because of
I get that a lot. Everyone always wants to know their direct ROI. They want to know XYZ, and I said, obviously it's about getting people in the door, and putting your best foot forward. And when you're doing price drops, they're not $1,000 here, $1,000 there. They're $5,000, $10,000, $25,000. They are big jumps. So, and the longer you're on the market, it's like most of the time these sellers are buyers. And I say to them, you're looking at the market too. You're looking at days on market. You're looking at, and what's wrong with it? What's wrong with it? And the first thing you look at is the kitchen cabinets are from, 1998, and then you're moving on. So you can look online, what's wrong with it, but then you can't look outside your own listing, but you need to look out inside your listing and say, this is what's wrong with it. And I'm telling you this, this is my full-time job. I'm in houses all day long. I know what sells. I'm not blowing smoke up your ass. Believe me, I don't want to wait to put it on the market. So, if they want to price super low and move it, great. Then you're a fire sale. Is that what you want to be?
Right. And I think it's both of them are difficult conversations. Are you willing to put $15,000 into your house before we put it on the market? That can be a difficult conversation, but it's also a difficult conversation to have the $15,000 price drop after it's been sitting for, 4 months. So you're going to have that conversation either way. I'd rather make it easier on myself, update the home, have it sell quicker, and, possibly get $2 for every dollar you spent on it as well.
Word.
Big box.
Well said. Well said. Is word with a W? Is it W-E-R-D or O-R-D, Annie? Please, can you please clarify?
Depends where you're from.
That's true. This is very true.
I have a kind of a tangent to what we were just talking about. First of all, Mike, I love that you guys are in the industry and you're doing that because, I've been telling agents and clients for years as sellers to get the place in shape And I'm not even talking about the big renovation you're talking about. I was talking more about the stuff that I see in every single inspection that comes up and with certain buyers creates headaches. The GFI outlets, right? We all know it's really easy to get those fixed, but I can't tell you how many times I've gone back and forth arguing over what amounts to $50. And I was just wondering from the agents, if you guys have ever thought of or used a home inspector coming into a place when you take the listing to figure out, even beyond what you can see visually, if there are things that you can have these sellers address so that you can have a much smoother inspection.
I would love to do it. I think it's not a standard of practice in Chicago. I know other markets do it on the West Coast in California. It's pretty much standard of practice for them to do a pre-home inspection and then have, that part of their disclosure package. I think, it's the way to go. It's really trying to get, the agent community to buy in, and more than 50% have to buy in doing that. And until that happens, it's a very hard proposition for a seller, I guess, to spend an additional X, Y, and Z on a pre-home inspection.
Sure.
But I think
and I thought about that. And one of the things was, especially the bigger inspectors, they have, sometimes younger inspectors starting. So it would be almost a training for them, and you can get a discounted rate, I would think. And I'm not going to spend your guys' money, but it would be something that as a listing agent, you could say, I'm going to do this. It may only cost you a couple $100 because you won't even have a full report. You would just have the guy come in for an hour and do, inspection. And then you have that, you can present that information to the sellers and say, if you take care of this, you're going to have a clean inspection. And that saves a lot of headaches, when you get to attorney approval. And, if you can get no inspection issues, you can get through attorney approval in a day or two, as opposed to a week or two.
I agree with that. And I think even a better thing is to partner up with, Mike with Renovation Sells, because usually the contractors honestly have a better eye for some of these things that will be caught in an inspection, whether an outlet's faulty or there's a bad connection with the furnace, HVAC. I mean, anytime you walk through a house with a contractor, their eyes and just how they process how the building should look, the mechanicals should look. I mean, they can pick stuff up within seconds of seeing stuff.
Well, there is one more thing though, Jonathan. I've done over 1,000 transactions in, over 19 years. I can tell you a home inspector job is to find something. So you can take care of issues, but no home inspect. I never got a clean bill from any home inspector in any of my inspections. So they will make things up if there is nothing there. So I would say, sure, take care of the main things and big things and GFIs, but there will be stuff coming up.
So just to follow up on all that, sometimes we buy our own investment properties, and even though I'm a professional, I have a good inspector that I'll use, and I'll pay him like $150 and just say, hey, can you just come through and just do your thing, but I don't need your report, because most of the inspectors' time goes into generating that report, right? So like if you say, look, I don't need the report, just verbally tell me what's going on. Okay, there's moisture in the corner, there's this, great, now I know. So just, if you guys have conversations with your inspectors and say, I don't need the report, but maybe just give me a quick walkthrough for your time of 30 minutes and tell me if you see anything glaring. Inspectors, obviously, if they're very busy, they won't do that. But if they know you, it may be something they're willing to do with your sellers for relatively inexpensive, especially if they're not writing the formal report.
That's a good point.
What idiot did not have a home inspector on this jam session? That is my question. So
but isn't it amazing how different both sides can crap around about $50? I mean, Jesus, it drives me crazy. So, sometimes my strategy is, well, hold out for like $1,000, and I'll say to my seller, all right, let's not piss around about $50, because that costs us more with all the letters that go back and forth, and just give me authorization to say 500 and let's move on. Same thing with the tax proration. Oh my God. between 3 and 5% or 5 and 7, I'm going to lose my mind.
I tell you what, if attorneys were billing by the hour,
Yeah,
or by the letter, then these things would wrap up much quicker. They know they have us, captive for the whole deal, so they abuse us.
yeah. And I'm not a fan of contributing on my transactions, but when it's $50, I'll say to one of my assistants, reach into your pocket, give them $50 and conclude it. Let's move on. Time is money.
I wish everyone felt your way, the same way as you, Mark. Our lives would be a lot easier.
Yeah, I hate the crapping around in the little details. We're all like, we have so much drama going on in our lives right now, right? One GFCI outlet, please, I'll come over there and fix it in 5 minutes.
We got a couple minutes left. We got a couple minutes for some final thoughts. So I don't want it, I want to be respectful of everybody's time. I'm sure, realtors are regimented. People got appointments. People got money to make. So any final thoughts before we conclude?
I'm just curious. I mean, this is, as we just talked about this, the rates are historically low. So I'm just curious, who wants to take advantage of the rates to actually buy for themselves, to buy investment property this year, besides myself? Okay. Well, I'll send the deals my way.
I'm selling them off.
I know. I'm selling. If you have buyers, I have some I'm selling.
Okay, I do it. Like I said, I have investments, so send them my way, the deals.
Being a landlord is like a part-time job. I mean, I have a plunger in the back of my car sometimes. I mean, so it's fun. I miss 2008 or 2011 and 2012 buying things, but that was the good old days.
Being a landlord is especially difficult in Chicago with the residential landlord tenant ordinance. You can run afoul of it very easily and wind up costing yourself thousands of dollars for simple technical violations. So,
or even worse, right now people just don't pay, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Can't do anything now. Yeah, can't evict, can't go to court.
Nothing. You just have to.
I haven't heard that many cases of it. I have a lot of investors, and I can only really think of one case where a tenant who works in the restaurant business is not paying. All of our tenants are paying. I'm always checking on the third. I'm thrilled, and nobody got a rent increase last year. So knocking on wood. Let's hope that continues. But yeah, it's not.
I'm with Mark.
Minor making it happen.
Right. My clients, my tenants, and my clients' tenants are all paying. Same here.
I have a building in Pilsen that I got two of 10 that are decided not to pay, and they're not responding, and there's nothing I can do. We've been as nice as possible, but.
Well, that's just rude. If you're not going to pay it.
It is rude, Mark. It's very rude.
Very down. I'm like, I said to them, I'm like, hey, listen, if you can't pay, I just want to know that you lost your job or something. I mean, we're not going to, give you a free ride or something, but yeah, that's rude.
Well, I'll send, hopefully business will get done on this, seems like we got some synergies here. So I'm going to cut the live right now. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Okay, live's gone. The actual recording is still gone, and I'll send the link out for YouTube and all that stuff in case you guys want to share it. But no, seriously, everybody, thanks for jamming with us. Partners kind of know the drill. Lumi, I know you've been at Mark. I know you've been on a couple of these, but if you want to get on another one of these, maybe for March, April, I think we're actually already calendared out for February. You guys know the drill. Email me. We'll set you up. Have a productive, blessed day. Thanks for hanging out with us. And God willing, we will have an in-person event soon, but that's not my call. So anyway,
thanks, Andy.
Peace out, everybody.
Love meeting everyone.
Thanks, Andy. Yeah, nice work, guys.
Yeah. I'll send everybody's info out after an email thanking everyone. So we'll talk to you soon. Adios.
All right.
Bye.